2 years after my sister's death, her ex still shows up like nothing happened. When my sister Emma died 2 years ago, our family changed forever. We weren't perfect before. Who is? But Emma's death fractured us in ways I'm still trying to understand. My dad barely speaks anymore, retreating to his workshop in the garage where he spends hours building things he never finishes. My mom busies herself with every charity event she can find, volunteering at the food bank, organizing fundraisers, attending every meeting as if constant motion could outrun her grief. And I've been stuck, angry, looking for someone to blame, something to make sense of the senseless. Emma was the glue that held us together. She was warm, outgoing, always laughing, the kind of person who could light up a room just by walking into it. People gravitated to her like moths to a flame. She had this gift for making everyone feel seen, heard, like they mattered. She loved hiking, photography, and the outdoors. On weekends, she'd wake up at dawn to catch the sunrise from some mountain trail, coming home with her camera full of images that somehow captured not just the landscape, but the feeling of being alive in it. Her death, officially ruled an accident, was almost poetic in its cruelty. She slipped while hiking and fell into a ravine on Eagle's Peak, a trail she'd hiked a dozen times before. At least that's what the police report said. A tragic accident. Wrong place, wrong time. A loose rock, a moment of imbalance, and she was gone. But if that's true, why does it feel like her ghost never left? Emma's ex-boyfriend Derek was never part of our family. Not really. He and Emma dated for about a year before she broke it off. I remember the first time she brought him to Sunday dinner. He seemed nice enough. Polite, well-mannered, maybe a little too attentive. He'd refill Emma's water glass before she even asked, pull out her chair, finish her sentences. At first, I thought it was sweet. Emma saw it differently. After a few months, she started coming to me with concerns. She said he was controlling, obsessive, constantly texting, showing up unannounced at her apartment or workplace, making passive-aggressive comments when she spent time with her friends. He'd check her phone when she wasn't looking, ask detailed questions about where she'd been and who she'd talked to. When she called him out on it, he'd say he was just being caring, that he loved her so much he couldn't help worrying. I remember her joking about it once, calling him my stage 5 clinger. We were sitting in her apartment, drinking wine, and she laughed as she said it. But her eyes didn't laugh. They looked tired, maybe even a little scared, but it wasn't funny. Not really. After the breakup, Derek didn't take it well. He kept texting her, dozens of messages a day at first, then hundreds. When she blocked his number, he'd call from different phones. He left voicemails, sent her flowers at work with cards that said things like, I know you'll come back to me, and we're meant to be together. She brushed it off, said he'd get bored eventually, that guys like him always moved on to the next obsession. I thought she was right, until the funeral. Derek didn't come to the service, thank God. I spent the entire day dreading the possibility of seeing him there, of having to watch him cry over my sister as if he'd had any right to her. But the pews were full of family, friends, colleagues, people who actually knew and loved Emma. Not him. But a week later, he showed up on our doorstep. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon. The kind of day where the sky hangs low and gray, and everything feels muffled and heavy. I was upstairs in my old bedroom when I heard the doorbell. My mom opened the door, and there he was, standing on our welcome mat in a black coat, holding a bouquet of lilies, Emma's favorite flowers. I just wanted to pay my respects, he said. His voice was soft, almost gentle, his head tilted like a wounded animal trying to look vulnerable. I know I should have come to the funeral, but I couldn't. It felt too real. My mom, who has never been good at saying no, especially not in her grief fog, let him in. I came downstairs to find Matt sitting on our couch, the same couch where Lisa used to curl up with a book on Sunday afternoons. He was talking about her as if he knew her better than we did, as if his year with her somehow outweighed our lifetime. He described her laugh, her smile, the way she always ordered pancakes with extra syrup at the diner on Maple Street. He talked about inside jokes I'd never heard, moments he claimed they'd shared. My dad sat in his armchair across the room, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles went white. He didn't say a word, just stared at Matt with an expression I couldn't quite read. Was it anger? Suspicion? Or just the blank exhaustion of grief? When Matt finally left, after nearly 2 hours, I asked my mom why she let him in. He's grieving too, she said, her voice small and tired. Everyone processes loss differently. We can't be cruel to him just because they broke up. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Matt wasn't grieving. He was lurking. Over the next few months, Matt kept appearing in our lives like a persistent stain we couldn't wash out. He showed up at family barbecues in the summer, standing awkwardly by the grill while my dad flipped burgers in silence. He came to holiday dinners, Thanksgiving and Christmas, sitting at our table where Lisa should have been. He even appeared at my dad's birthday party in September, carrying a six-pack of craft beer and acting like he'd been invited. Always uninvited. Always with some excuse. Your mom said it was okay, he'd claim when I confronted him, though I'd started to doubt whether my mom even remembered inviting him. Grief had made her forgetful, scattered. Or, he'd say, I thought Lisa would have wanted me here, which made me want to scream because Lisa had explicitly told me she wanted nothing to do with him. My parents, drowning in their own grief, let it slide. He's harmless, my mom said when I tried to talk to her about it. He just misses her. You can't blame someone for loving your sister, but I did blame him. I blamed him for showing up uninvited, for inserting himself into our family's pain, for the way he looked at Lisa's photos on the mantel with an expression that seemed more possessive than sad. But it wasn't harmless. Not when he started asking questions. Strange questions. Pointed questions. Did Lisa ever mention being afraid? He asked my dad once during that September birthday party. My dad just grunted, uncomfortable. Afraid of what? He asked. Matt shrugged. Just afraid. He asked my mom if Lisa had seemed different in the weeks before she died. More distant, maybe? Like she had something on her mind? My mom, eager to talk about Lisa with anyone who'd listen, opened up. She told him about how Lisa had seemed preoccupied, how she'd been hiking alone more often, taking longer trips. She'd been quieter at family dinners, distracted. I thought maybe she was dating someone new, my mom said, her voice wistful. She seemed like she had a secret. Matt's eyes gleamed with something I couldn't quite identify. Interest? Satisfaction? Maybe she did, he murmured. Last Christmas was when things truly began to unravel. We'd put up the tree, hung the lights, gone through all the motions of the holiday, despite the Lisa-shaped hole in every tradition. Matt showed up on Christmas Eve, of course, carrying presents wrapped in paper covered with snowflakes. After dinner, he cornered me in the kitchen while I was loading the dishwasher. She was different with me. You know, he said, leaning against the counter in that casual way that felt calculated, rehearsed. I stiffened, my hands freezing mid-reach for a dirty plate. What's that supposed to mean? He smiled, that thin, unsettling smile I'd seen so many times, the smile that never reached his eyes. She told me things she wouldn't tell anyone else. Secret things. Real things. Like what? I kept my voice level, but my heart was hammering. His smile widened, like how she wasn't scared to die. She talked about it sometimes, you know. Death, the wilderness, how peaceful it would be to just disappear into nature. A chill ran through me. That's not... Lisa wasn't suicidal. She loved life, did she? He tilted his head. Are you sure? People hide things, even from the people they love, especially from the people they love. I wanted to throw him out right then, but my parents were in the living room laughing at some Christmas movie, and I didn't want to ruin their evening with a scene, so I just turned back to the dishes, my hands shaking. Get out of my kitchen, I said quietly. He left, but not before whispering, she's not as gone as you think. That night, I went through Lisa's journals. I'd inherited them after she died. 5 spiral-bound notebooks filled with her handwriting. That looping cursive she'd perfected in high school. She was the type to write everything down. Her thoughts, her plans, song lyrics that spoke to her, doodles in the margins, random observations about the world. Most of it was normal Lisa stuff. Quotes from books she'd read. Ideas for photographs she wanted to take. Little grocery lists and to-do reminders. Reading through them was like hearing her voice again. And I found myself crying over entries about her favorite coffee shop or her excitement about a new hiking trail. But then I found the entry from 3 months before she died. I think Matt's been following me. I saw his car outside my apartment again last night, parked across the street with the lights off. He won't stop texting even though I've blocked him on everything. He keeps creating new accounts, new numbers. He keeps saying he knows something I don't, that I'll understand eventually. I'm starting to feel like I can't shake him. Like he's always there, just out of sight, watching. My blood ran cold. I flipped through more pages, finding scattered mentions of Matt. Each one more disturbing than the last. He sent flowers to my office again. 27 roses. That's the number of days since I broke up with him. The card said counting down. I changed my hiking routes. I don't want him to know where I go. I'm scared. I don't know what he wants. I showed the entries to my mom the next morning, expecting her to finally see reason. To understand that Matt wasn't some harmless, grief-stricken ex-boyfriend. But she waved it off, her hand fluttering dismissively. Lisa was dramatic sometimes, she said, not unkindly. She had a tendency to catastrophize. I'm sure it's nothing. Matt's been nothing but respectful to us. Mom, she was scared of him. She was young. Young people feel everything so intensely. If she'd been truly afraid, she would have gone to the police. But would she? Lisa hated confrontation. She was the type to downplay her own fears, to convince herself things weren't as bad as they seemed. How many times had she told me Matt would get bored eventually? A few days later, I saw Matt's car parked down the street from our house. It wasn't the first time. I'd noticed it before, idling near the corner, but I'd convinced myself it was a coincidence. Maybe he lived nearby? Maybe he was visiting someone else. This time, though, I knew. The car was there when I left for work in the morning. Still there when I came home for lunch. Gone by evening, but back the next day. He wasn't watching our family, he was watching me. Last week was my dad's birthday. He turned 57, though he looks older now, worn down by grief and silence. My mom organized a small gathering, just a few close friends, my aunt and uncle, some neighbors. We had cake, told stories, tried to pretend this was a normal celebration and not a hollow ritual we were going through because the alternative was giving up entirely. And then Matt showed up. He was holding a gift wrapped in brown paper, tied with twine. "I couldn't miss this," he said when my mom opened the door. "I got something I think Lisa would have wanted your dad to have." Inside was a coffee table book about hiking trails in the Pacific Northwest. Glossy photographs of mountains, forests, ravines. The exact kind of book Lisa would have loved. The exact kind of book that felt like a taunt. I couldn't take it anymore. I followed him outside when he left, into the driveway where his car was parked behind my mom's sedan. "What the hell are you doing here?" I snapped, my voice shaking with barely contained rage. His smile didn't falter. "Paying my respects," he said, as if we were having a pleasant conversation about the weather. "Lisa broke up with you 2 years ago. She wanted nothing to do with you. She was afraid of you. Why can't you let her go?" Something flickered in his eyes. Anger, maybe, or satisfaction. "She told you that? That she was afraid?" "Yes, it's in her journals, all of it. The stalking, the messages, everything." He took a step closer, and I instinctively stepped back. His voice dropped to a whisper, intimate and chilling. "She told me a lot of things, too. Things she didn't tell anyone else. Things about her fears, her dreams, her darkest thoughts. We were connected in a way you couldn't understand. You were harassing her. I was loving her." He said it simply, as if it were an obvious fact, and she knew it. Deep down, she knew we belonged together. Then he said something I'll never forget. I was there, you know, on the trail, the day she died. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. The world tilted, and I had to grab the side mirror of his car to steady myself. "What?" He smiled again, that cold, empty thing that had haunted my nightmares. "Eagle's Peak. I knew she'd be there. She always went there when she needed to think." My voice came out as barely a whisper. "What are you saying?" He tilted his head, studying me like I was a specimen under glass. "I'm saying I was there. We talked. She told me she couldn't keep running from us, from what we had. And then what?" My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. "She didn't fall," he said softly. "She looked me in the eyes and asked me to let her go." My stomach churned. Bile rose in my throat. "You're lying." He leaned in closer, his breath hot against my ear. "Am I? Ask yourself this. If she slipped, why didn't she scream? Why were there no defensive wounds? Why did the police find her phone in her backpack, not in her hand like someone who'd been trying to call for help?" I shoved him away, stumbling backward. "You killed her. Did I?" He smiled. "Or did she choose to fall rather than be with me? Either way, the result is the same, isn't it? She's gone, and I'm still here." I called the police that night. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely dial. I told them everything. The stalking, the journal entries, his confession in the driveway. I gave them dates, details, everything I could remember. They said they'd investigate. They'd send someone to talk to him. When they went to his apartment the next morning, it was empty. Not just empty, abandoned. No furniture, no clothes, no mail, no sign he'd ever lived there. The landlord said the lease had been under a different name, paid in cash, and the man who'd rented it hadn't been seen in days. The police said there was nothing they could do without evidence. The journal entries weren't enough. They could be misinterpretations, exaggerations. His confession to me was hearsay, made in private with no witnesses. And his presence at our family gatherings? My mom had confirmed she'd invited him, at least to some of them. "We'll keep an eye out," the detective said, sounding tired and unconvinced. "But unless he makes contact again or we find concrete evidence, our hands are tied. It's been a week now since he disappeared. I haven't told my parents what he said. I don't know if they'd believe me. My mom would probably say I misunderstood, that grief was making me paranoid. My dad would just retreat further into his workshop, unable to face the possibility that Lisa's death wasn't an accident. So I keep it to myself, this terrible knowledge sitting like a stone in my chest. Every night, I double-check the locks on all the doors and windows. I've installed a chain lock on my bedroom door, something I can hook from the inside. Every night, I sit in my bed, clutching my phone, too scared to sleep. I've started keeping a baseball bat next to my nightstand and a can of pepper spray in my drawer. I jump at every sound. The house settling, the wind rattling the windows, a car passing on the street. I've stopped going out alone after dark. I've stopped hiking entirely. Can't even look at the trails without thinking of Lisa falling or being pushed or choosing to step off the edge rather than face whatever Matt had planned. Last night, I finally decided to look through Lisa's journals again. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I'd missed something, some clue that would make sense of everything. Maybe I was looking for answers, or absolution, or just her voice one more time. I spread all 5 notebooks across my bed and started reading chronologically. From the first entry 3 years ago to the last one, written the day before she died. That final entry was short. Hurried. Going to Eagles Peak tomorrow? Early start. Need to clear my head and make a decision. I can't keep living like this, looking over my shoulder. It has to end. My hands trembled as I read it. What decision? What had to end? I flipped through the rest of the journal, looking for blank pages I might have missed. Most of them were filled, but there were a few at the end. Empty white space, waiting for words that would never come. But this time, there was something new. The last page, which I would swear had been blank every other time I'd looked at this journal, now had writing on it. A single sentence scrawled across it in jagged black ink. The letters sharp and uneven, nothing like Lisa's elegant cursive. He's not watching. He's inside. I dropped the journal like it had burned me. My breath came in short, sharp gasps. I looked around my room, at the door with its new chain lock, at the windows I'd checked twice before coming to bed, at the closet with its door firmly closed. Everything looked normal. Everything was exactly as it should be, but the words in the journal weren't there before. I would stake my life on it. I grabbed my phone, thinking I'd call the police again, tell them about this new evidence. But evidence of what? That someone had broken into my house and written a cryptic message in my dead sister's journal? How would I prove the message was new? I'd had these journals for 2 years. For all anyone knew, I could have written it myself. A grief-stricken woman losing her grip on reality. That's when I heard it, a soft sound from downstairs. A creak of floorboards, the whisper of movement. My entire body went rigid. I stared at my bedroom door, at the chain lock I'd hooked into place. It was secure. No one could get in, but someone was in the house. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers, whispering into the phone that someone had broken in, giving them my address. The dispatcher told me to stay on the line, to stay quiet, that officers were on their way. They're 5 minutes out, she said calmly. Stay where you are. Don't try to confront the intruder. 5 minutes. An eternity. I heard footsteps now, unmistakable. Someone was climbing the stairs slowly, deliberately. Each step creaked under their weight. They reached the landing, paused, then continued down the hallway toward my room. I pressed myself against the headboard. The phone clutched in one hand, the baseball bat in the other. My breath came in terrified gasps that I tried to muffle. The footsteps stopped outside my door. I watched the handle, waiting for it to turn, for someone to try to force their way in, but nothing happened. Instead, I heard a voice. Soft, familiar, impossible? He thinks he won, you know. It was Lisa's voice. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real? Lisa? I whispered. He thinks he broke us, her voice continued, still coming from the other side of the door. He thinks he can keep inserting himself into our family, into our grief. He thinks no one will ever know the truth. Who are you? My voice cracked. You're not Lisa. Lisa is dead. A soft laugh, sad and knowing. Am I? Or am I just waiting for you to finish what I started? I don't understand. In my room. The floorboard that squeaks. I left something there. Something I never got to show anyone. The footsteps retreated down the hallway. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. By the time the police arrived 3 minutes later, the house was empty except for me and my sleeping parents, who'd somehow not woken despite the commotion. The officers searched every room, every closet, the attic, the basement. They found no signs of forced entry, no evidence anyone had been inside. Are you sure you heard something? One officer asked gently, the way you'd talk to someone you thought might be unstable. Sometimes old houses make sounds, especially at night, and grief can play tricks on the mind. I wanted to scream at him that I wasn't crazy, that someone had been here, that I'd heard Lisa's voice, but I just nodded and thanked them for coming. After they left, after my parents had shuffled back to bed with concerned looks, I stood in the hallway outside Lisa's room. We'd kept it exactly as she'd left it. Her bed made, her books on the shelf, her hiking boots by the closet. My mom dusted it once a week, this shrine to a daughter who'd never come home. I went inside and closed the door behind me. The floorboard that squeaked was near the window, by her desk. Lisa used to complain about it, said it was impossible to sneak in late without waking our parents because of that one noisy board. I knelt and pressed on it. It creaked loudly, just like always. I pulled at the edges, and to my shock, it lifted. Underneath was a hollow space between the joists, and in that space was a shoebox. Inside the shoebox was a phone I didn't recognize, an old burner phone, by the looks of it, and a USB drive, and a folded piece of paper. I opened the paper with trembling hands. It was a letter in Lisa's handwriting, dated the day before she died. If you're reading this, I'm probably already gone. I've been documenting everything, the messages, the photos he takes of me without permission, the times he follows me. It's all on the USB drive. I was going to take it to the police, but I'm scared. What if they don't believe me? What if it makes things worse? I'm going to Eagles Peak tomorrow to meet him. I know it's dangerous, but he said if I didn't come, he'd hurt someone I love. He mentioned your name. So I'm going. I'm bringing the burner phone. He doesn't know I have it. I'm going to try to record our conversation, get him to admit what he's been doing. If something happens to me, please make sure someone knows the truth. Don't let him get away with it. And don't let him near our family. I love you. I'm sorry I wasn't braver, Lisa. I sat on her floor, crying, clutching the letter to my chest. She tried to protect us. She'd gone to meet him alone, tried to get evidence, and it had cost her everything. The USB drive contained everything. Screenshots of hundreds of threatening messages, photos he'd taken of her through her apartment window, recordings of him leaving voicemails that grew increasingly deranged, timestamps, dates, a pattern of escalating obsession spanning months, and on the burner phone, one final recording from Eagle's Peak. I played it with shaking hands, Lisa's voice, breathless. Matt, you need to stop this. I came here because you threatened my family, but this has to end. Matt's voice, cold and calm. It doesn't end until you come back to me. It's simple. I'm never coming back to you. What we had is over. You need help. What I need is you. A pause. Walk away from me now, and your sister has an accident. Your parents too, maybe. Tragic, really? But preventable? You're insane. I'm in love. Come with me now. Leave with me. We'll start over somewhere new. A long silence. Then Lisa's voice, shaking but determined. And if I don't? Then I take what I can't have. If you're not mine, you're no one's. Sounds of a struggle. Lisa crying out. And then terrible, terrible silence. The recording ended. I took everything to the police the next morning. This time, they listened. It's been 3 months since I found Lisa's evidence. 3 months since the truth finally came to light. The police issued a warrant for Matt's arrest on charges of stalking, harassment, and murder. They found him 2 states away, living under a false name, already stalking another woman. The trial is set for next month. The prosecutor says Lisa's recordings, combined with the evidence she collected, make this an open and shut case. My parents are destroyed all over again, grieving Lisa's death anew, now with the knowledge that it wasn't an accident, that she died trying to protect us. My mom blames herself for letting Matt into our home, for not seeing what he was. My dad has finally started talking again, but only to say over and over, I should have protected her. I tell them it's not their fault, that Matt was sick, manipulative, that Lisa herself didn't realize how dangerous he was until it was too late. I don't know if they believe me. I still sleep with the chain lock on my door. I still jump at unexpected sounds, but slowly, I'm beginning to heal. Lisa's room is different now. We've finally started packing up her things, donating her clothes, sorting through her belongings. It's time, I think. Time to let her rest, instead of preserving her like a museum exhibit. But I keep her journals. And sometimes, when the house is quiet and I'm feeling brave, I read through them and hear her voice. There's one more thing I haven't told anyone. That last page in her journal, the one with the message, he's not watching. He's inside. I've checked it several times since that night. The message is still there. But it's changed. Now it says, thank you for finishing what I started. You can rest now. We both can. I don't know if I believe in ghosts. I don't know if Lisa's spirit was ever really trapped, waiting for justice, or if grief and trauma made me see and hear things that weren't there. But I like to think she's at peace now, that wherever she is, she knows the truth came out. That Matt will pay for what he did. That our family, broken as we are, is finally free of him. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I can hear her laughing. That bright, clear laugh that used to fill our house with joy, and I choose to believe it's real.